evening. Good evening. Welcome to the Friday night's edition of Detroit in Black and White. Good evening, Deweyla boys. Um, we're here Friday evenings, 8:30. Adolph is not here. We don't know if he's going to come on or not, but we're going to hold down the fort. I'm going to go around. I'm going to introduce the last person to log in first, Mr. Eric Brown, our literacy guru. Good evening, Eric.
Bonjour. Bonus notice.
Jim Nardone, the former chief of police in Trenton.
Happy Friday.
And hey, Queen Bee, and Allan Lengel, Deadline Detroit.
Hello. Good evening.
Good evening. So listen, you guys are watching. I hope you guys are telling your friends about the hottest show on this side of the United States, Detroit in Black and White. We want you to hit that like button, subscribe and share. Tell your friends about us and join the chat. And join us tomorrow morning. Okay, we're going to get it going. And what we're going to start off with, I don't know if we're going to start off with something light. Good evening, Bridget Huff. Good evening, Queen Bee. She says she has her alarm set, so she's not going to miss us. Good evening, Kenneth Joyce. We're so happy you're here. Bridget Huff, A Soldier Story. Good evening. So we want to start off with something light, or do we want to start off with something a little bit more serious?
I'll start with something serious.
Okay. You already know who you're going to talk about.
No. Well, no, it's actually something a little bit. It's really about the First Amendment.
Okay.
Couple things. We had in Meridian, Idaho, a teacher put up a sign in a classroom, "Everyone is welcome here." And she was told to take it down because they said we almost only practice neutrality, which to me is really basically, they're saying, I mean, how much more neutral or inclusive?
What did the sign say?
It said, "Everyone is welcome here." And they said, we only practice neutrality because they see it as like, maybe they're seeing it as like, wait a minute, we're not saying blacks, Jews, Muslims, LGBTQ, transgender are welcome here. That's the way they look at it. So they're like, you have to take down the sign. Now, the other thing is, I mean, we have to be really aware of what's going on in this country. Another thing is in Miami Beach. Okay. There's a private film company that leases government space from the city of Miami Beach, and they played the documentary "No Other Land," which won the Academy Award. It was about the Palestinians in the West Bank. It was produced by Palestinians and an Israeli, and the mayor of there is saying, "Oh no, you can't play that kind of stuff here. We're going to try to revoke your license to use our property." And we can, look, whether you agree with certain issues or whatever, and then we see, I don't know the whole story with this guy, Khalil, the Columbia University student who was taken away, but, we're allowing them to take away freedom of expression, and it's okay. And it's a whole under the guise of we're tired of woke. It's like we get to be racist again.
You're about to make me mad.
Right. I think we need to talk about that, but I think tomorrow's a better day because I think it's an important topic. But
okay,
when we have people in North Korea, when we have dictators killing our people and people ending up in prison for a couple of grams of marijuana in Russia, this guy. I think we should talk about it tomorrow. I'm not ready to talk about it. So.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to just piggyback on. No, we'll save the lighthearted for a little bit later. But I'm going to talk about something local. We talked about the other night. We talked about the governor's race, and we talked about Lieutenant Governor Garland Gilchrist getting in a race. And I think I said something last week about our city councilwoman, Mary Waters, going to D.C. What in the heck is all this hoopla about people mad because the governor of the state of Michigan has met with the president of the United States? Now, in my opinion, that's her job. That is her job, to represent Michiganders. And whether or not you agree with him or not, your job is to reach across the aisle so that you can make things better for us as Michiganders. I don't understand why people are so pissed off.
They pissed off because they are ignorant. And at the end of the day, I don't have any time. I don't have any time for black people from Detroit to be bitching and whining and moaning. Less than 50%
Wait a minute,
of
why are you saying
the
it's black people, Eric? It's
I'm referring to the Facebook posts, I've seen, and the predominant those bitching and whining are black people. So, if you didn't vote, shut the fuck up. And less than 50% of the people in Detroit voted. So I ain't got time for no bitching and whining about they girl going to DC. I saw a girl post something. I'm taking down all the pictures I've had with Gretchen Whitmer. How ignorant is that? I mean, we are such a lost cause when it comes to politics in general, because at the end of the day, people don't understand politics. People in no way use critical thinking skills to understand, like you said, Vanessa, that is her job. And to be tripping on her going to DC, she even talked about why she went to DC, to bring you motherfuckers some jobs. And you tripping on that?
And she also indicated that the meeting was very, basically
productive. Matter of fact, she said it was productive.
But listen, you have to. I think you have to. I'm like, I think it's crazy because they're not doing the critical thinking. But I do understand that it's very emotional for a lot of people. What do you say, Allan?
They should have got their ass out to voting on November the 15th.
Some of them did. What do you think, Allan?
I have mixed feelings about it. I understand. Look, you want to do the right thing, and you have to swallow some pride and try to ignore the toxic person that he is, if you can bring home the bacon, so to speak. On the other hand, I do not believe for a moment he is the most vindictive motherfucker out there, and and he remembers that she attacked him, and he will not forget that. And I think in the end, she's gonna lose her dignity, and I don't think it's gonna be very effective. But I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong.
What do you think, Jim?
First, the Soldier Story is donating to Mary Sheffield and Garland Gilchrist. Thank you for participating in Soldier Story, and we appreciate what you think out there. I'm going to tell you right now, I'm looking at, I have this little iPad here. I'm looking at it. It says Chuck Schumer, Fetterman, Catherine Mastro, Dick Durbin, Brian Schatz, Maggie Hassan, Kristen Gillibrand, Gary Peters of Michigan, Jeannie Shaheen, and Angus Young all voted to stop the government shutdown. And when I bring that back to Governor Whitmer, she represents the people of the state of Michigan. She doesn't represent the Democratic Party. That's where we have an issue.
Right,
he is the duly elected president. So you need to figure.
He represent citizens of the United States, whether you like the guy or not. He is the president of the United States. And if you know, as a representative for the state of Michigan, I think it is incumbent upon those elected officials to reach across the aisle to see what they can get, if they get anything, but at least try. So I understand that people are very emotional about it, but they have to do so. I do have to agree with Eric. There has to be some critical thinking. I'm not going to go as far as to say that they're ignorant, but there has to be some critical thinking going on here. Because listen, God forbid something happens to him, he's going to be the president for the next 4 years.
Hey, I agree. I don't agree. You do try to bring home what you can, and you have to swallow some of your pride. On the other hand, when you say that he represents the people of America, I don't believe for a minute that his policies are really about America. I mean, he suddenly changed and said, screw Ukraine, we're for Russia. He's tried to convince everyone that Ukraine is evil and Russia is good. That's his personal policy. When the tariffs get, when Canada lifts the tariffs so much, he responds. He takes it all so personally. I don't feel like he really cares. It's all so personal. He's the little mobster,
Well, you know what? One of our viewers said, Duela said it's different. She's talking about Governor Whitmer. She says different from what Snoop Dogg did. He did that for selfish reasons. He did it for himself. She did it for Michiganders.
I agree.
I totally agree. And, again, I just think that, listen, if you want something different, you got to do something different.
But not just that.
Go ahead.
Why
Go
do-
ahead, Eric.
Why do people continue to get so using your word, Vanessa, so emotional when his name comes up? I mean, at the end of the day, where the fuck is people at on April 25th, 2023, when this old ass man decided to run for re-election? Nobody said anything. Joe Biden had no business run for re-election. The electorate Democrats should have stepped up and said enough is enough. It should not have taken June 27th, that Thursday of the debate, for people to wake up and say, what the fuck have we gotten ourselves into? Donald Trump been running for office in 2015. 2015. And y'all still mad now? The election is over with.
No, wait a minute.
They're gonna be mad. They're gonna be
Thank
mad.
you, Queen B. The ship has
Go ahead,
sailed.
Alan.
Period. The ship is sailed.
Go ahead, Alan.
No, you know what, Eric, what you're saying is, but you say, it's over. We agree the election is over. Now we have to react. I have to say this. I don't believe the people, a lot of independents who voted for him and some of the Republicans who voted for him had any idea how willy-nilly he was going to be about cutting, laying off people on jobs. And just
He
talking
said
about
that. He said what he was going to do.
He
So
did.
it's no surprise. But again,
I know.
let's
but
go back to April 20th.
I'm not going to shut up.
2023.
Look, but I'm not going to shut up because the Democrats fucked up. We have to we're living today. We have to address today. We can't keep looking back and saying, you fucked up, now shut up till whatever. You have no right to talk. You have a right. You have a right to talk even if you didn't vote. I'm sorry, you're an American. That doesn't take away your voice. There's nothing.
But you got to use so much energy on him. Do something in the community. Make the community better. You're using so much energy talking about him. Do something in the community. Do something in the community.
I agree. People have to look. They're having town hall meetings all around the country, and people are screaming at in red districts, screaming at their red Republican Congress members saying
and they're also screaming at the Democrats for not doing the goddamn thing as well.
Right. Well, exactly. We're going to cut to commercial. We're going to come back. Thank you for watching Detroit Black and White. We're going to come back after the commercial and pick back up.
Hi, I'm Eric Sabri, your Wayne County Treasurer. If you're living in the home of a deceased family member and you're facing property tax foreclosure, the probate process can be helpful to you. If you file a probate petition and notify our office, the foreclosure proceedings will be halted during the probate process. Contact us at 313-224-5990 or email us at taxinfo@waynecounty.com. We're here to help.
We're back, Detroit Black and White. I want to tell Duela, thank you so much for the compliment. COTD, somebody got me a ticket. You know what I'm talking about. Okay, we're going to pick back up with the conversation. Listen, I believe that people should be angry about where they find themselves, but you can't just be angry. There's going to have to be some action to go along with it if you want something different. So you can't go back and say, hey,
Duela, where did you get out and vote? Where did you get out and go vote, Duela? I never said once I did not vote. I've been voting since 1982. So where you got I haven't voted is beyond me.
She said, but why can't we be angry? And you can't be angry as far as I'm concerned, because you did vote. And even those people who did not vote, listen, you guys have heard me say on this show, I have family members that did not vote. And what did I say? I said, listen, we don't get to have a conversation if you did not participate in the process. Not about this, but what is going on in America today is impacting them. And so maybe this will motivate them to do something different. Work in the community, get involved, become educated about those people that are representing you in DC, those people that are representing you in the cities that you live in. Maybe this will motivate them to do something different. Okay, look to the individual as opposed to an entire party. And quite frankly, I think there needed to be a shakeup in the Democratic Party. Go ahead, Alan.
I was going to say, I wrote a story about, he was a kid at the time. He was 16 years old. He'd been shot in the back, paralyzed in a wheelchair. He lives in Washington, D.C. I wrote a story on the cost of one shooting in DC, and I did everything from projected medical costs and everything. Well, that was in 1997. We're still good friends. And I was talking to him the other night, and we had talked during the election, and it doesn't matter in DC because DC is 90% Democratic. But he was like going, I don't know, maybe I'm going to vote. I kind of like Trump, and I don't know if it makes a difference who I vote for anyways. You know, who we vote for, nothing changes for Black people. So the other night I'm talking to him, and he says, you know, I'm worried about, he's in a wheelchair, he's paralyzed. He says, I'm a little worried about the cuts in Medicaid. And I said, well, I said, maybe that had something to do with the election. I said, maybe it does have an impact. I think people don't realize it until they do, that sometimes these policies or whatever can impact them, you know.
Well, Eric Duela apologized that she misspoke. So I'm going to speak for you. He accepts your apology, and we want you to keep watching and keep making comments and join the chat. No one on this panel is trying to offend anybody at all. But we are very, very much opinionated. And I have to add that those opinions of each individual belong to those individuals. Go ahead, Allan.
It'll take about 15 seconds. I want to read this poem that Tara Bach, who's a Buddhist. Okay, ready? It says, it's 3:23 in the morning and I'm awake because my great-grandchildren won't let me sleep. My great-great-grandchildren ask me in my dreams, what did you do while the planet was plundered? What did you do when the earth was unraveling? Surely you did something when the season started failing, as the mammals, the reptiles, the birds were all dying. Did you fill the streets with protests when democracy was stolen? What did you do once you knew? And yeah.
Wow. So they voted for Trump because they wanted Joe Biden out of office, and that's what their argument will be.
Yeah, right. Felicia D.
I mean, I'm not saying how I feel. I'm just telling you that's what the people of America did.
Well, it's changed now. Life now. Okay, we're done with the election. Now we have reality.
We can talk about circular firing squads all day long, but there's a circular firing squad going on in the Democratic Party right now. Those 12 people who voted for what they think is right in this country to not have a government shutdown are now in the middle of the leadership. Their leadership in the Senate are now in the middle of a circular firing squad with their own party who's threatening them. And frankly,
you know what? There's nothing wrong with having a difference in philosophy. You know, one philosophy was like, we need to use.
Oh, it isn't.
Yeah. What power?
Oh, you said that?
Yeah.
What power? Okay.
There's a difference of opinion whether they should. You know, some of the Democrats, like AOC or other people, say, hey, it's not on us if the government fails. These people are shoving bullshit and cutting. I mean, they're cutting tons of money out of the budget for the city of DC. It's going to cost lives. It's going to cost. There's safety issues. There's health issues. Whatever. I mean, there's a difference of opinion. They all want to get to the same place. They have a difference of opinion how to get there.
But so here's what's interesting. There's two things that are interesting. A report came out today that Joe Biden told Kamala Harris to not move away from his agenda. People are quiet about that. Another report, I saw the clip from MSNBC. Tim Walz blamed himself and Kamala Harris for the malaise that the Democratic Party is in. But then everybody still wants to attack Trump. If you're a Democrat, you go to the source. You have the people from the Democratic Party telling you they fucked up, but y'all still blaming Trump. Look in the mirror if you're a Democrat. Look in the mirror.
Let me say this.
Trump is president. Trump's carrying policy.
It don't matter. You got the two people that were running saying that they fucked up.
Let me say
Because he had his heart on for Trump, well, you're not saying anything about the fact that the two people that fucked up the Democratic Party are admitting they fucked up the Democratic Party, and you still defending them.
Hey, Eric, the milk has been spilled.
Hold on one second. First of all, hold on one second. Felicia Dean says that people don't trust the process. Terry McCrimmon says, again, there are millions of Archie Bunkers in America, and yet they love Trump. Listen, I think that we really, as Americans, need to have some real conversations and a real look in the mirror. It is interesting to me, and I'm even guilty of it. I don't mind looking in the mirror. Is that we can talk about what this guy says and what he does, but we do it within ourselves. For instance, we talk about racism. We talk about him being a racist. We talk about people, being prejudiced. Where within our own communities, there's colorism, there's sexism. We don't want to acknowledge that. When you talk about the two people in the Democratic Party, it was more than those two people. It was a lot of people on board with that situation, with Kamala Harris and Tim Walz running. So I am not going to buy. I understand what Tim Walz was doing and what he said, but I'm not going to say that it's just their fault. It is the entire party's fault. Okay.
These are Vanessa.
Person out on this platform, you knew she was not ready. You robbed the constituents of being able to make a decision as to who the people should elect, who the nominee should be. Those two people didn't do that by themselves. So I think that as Americans, we have to have deeper conversations. I just think that is because it's him, we get pissed off. As a Black woman, I've had conversations with people and I've said, listen, you get really pissed off when he started talking all that crazy stuff about Black folks and woke and all of that. But heck, within our own community, there's self-hatred. Within our own community, there's colorism. Within our own community, there's a sense of dishonesty and prejudice. And I bet you it's the same in your community, Allan, and the same in Jim's community. We have to be honest with ourselves as Americans.
And someone very prominent in the business community in the United States, I had a conversation with him today, and I won't throw his name out there, but he hit the nail on the head with regards to your comment, Vanessa. Black people will get mad at each other for having a difference of opinion about the letters of someone's name, but you have a white person that would say the exact same thing I'm saying, they're quiet. So we got to get our shit together. We criticize our own over politics, and whenever someone like myself say, y'all love a political party more than you love yourselves and your family, they get mad. But in the words of Colonel Jessup from A Few Good Men, motherfuckers cannot handle the truth. When you speak truth to our people, they get upset, and that amazes me.
Well, I've had this conversation. I just had this conversation yesterday, and hopefully we'll be able to talk about it more because I'm getting ready to leave in a few minutes. But there's some conversations. There's some real conversations that we really need to have, and the real conversations make people feel uncomfortable. But we're going to have to be uncomfortable in order to effectuate change. We're going to have to. You can't be afraid to talk about certain things. Allan, you sit with your head like that. You got a comment?
No. Well, no, I'm just going to say, look, as far as I'm concerned, yes, I mean, we can't, there are people who are speaking up. There are people who are they're losing their jobs. We're seeing the First Amendment stuff going on where woke is being used to take away people's rights to, I think
that's a stretch.
When we talk about the election and yes, the Democrat, what's a stretch?
That's the First Amendment, and don't talk to me about people's rights getting taken away because they're all doing the same thing.
Look, they've taken a guy, a Palestinian guy, and I don't know
exactly a Syrian.
Yeah,
who came here and is going to school a $500,000 education.
He has a green card. He has rights under.
That's right. He has rights. But he's not a U.S. citizen.
And when they show a film down in Miami Beach and the mayor tries to take away, you don't see it, Jim. This is fucking, I'm not being, hysterical. This is the fucking 1930s. This is how it started in Germany.
You mean like the COVID lockdowns?
Well, the little encroachments.
Don't tell me one party takes away rights and one party violates the Constitution.
The lockdown was done under Trump. I'm sorry. So don't blame the fucking Democrats, Jim.
Oh, in Michigan, who shut down Michigan? Who shut down Michigan?
Well, listen. you're first of all, you're minimizing what's happening.
I'm not minimizing anything. I'm just telling you both of them do it, and you never look at both of them. You only look at the ones you don't like, and you're not very objective.
Look, when they did the lockdowns, they had limited information on
I had
how
no problem with it.
COVID.
I didn't say I had a problem with it.
But Jim and Allan, let's look at it this way, Jim and Allan. Look at the literacy scores of the states that were locked down versus the states that were not locked down. The states that were not locked down have better literacy scores to this day than the states. Michigan is doing deplorable. A Democratic governor locked down Michigan. Florida is doing exceptional. A Republican governor kept Florida open. Even in the local communities around here, you have communities that went to school, did not have a lockdown, that are doing much better than the schools that had lockdowns. And look at the letters after the names of the mayors and township supervisors in those cities and communities.
Listen, I was one of those people. I am one of those people. I was okay with the lockdown. It didn't bother me none, and it didn't stop me in terms of working or anything like that. And I will say, if we're going to talk about COVID decimated the Black community. This community here, the community that we live in, that I live in, it was so many people who died of COVID. So I get it, I understand. But I continuously say almost every week, the same criticism that you have for the Republican Party, listen, that same criticism, the Democrats deserve that same criticism. Let's not play here, okay?
Well,
that's my only point. That's my only point. I don't disagree with Allan.
They, he's the other day was talking about how the president gave out these ambassadorships, and I said, well, the Democrats do the same thing. Listen, if you're loyal to me, listen, I'm going to pay you. And that's not just what ambassadorships is, a whole lot of other ships that people get, okay? Because you've been loyal. You've put a lot of money in my campaign war chest. You've carried the bucket for me. It goes on both sides. Let's be realistic here as to what we're looking at. And I'm saying that as people have to hold these people. I don't care if you're a Democrat or Republican or independent. Listen, if you're not holding people accountable, then guess what? What difference does it make?
It doesn't matter. And that's what people don't do. They don't hold people accountable. And even when you look at we're focusing on the federal level. Look at the state level in the paybacks and the gimmies that are done with regards to some of these appointments that the governor made, be it a Republican or a Democrat. These universities outside of Michigan, Michigan State, and U of M, all the regions, trustees, and governors for these universities are appointed by the governor that's in charge, political favors. I mean, I don't think that Supreme Court justice that was just named, that was not a political favor.
So, what Queen B is talking about, Governor Whitmer, she says that, she was responsible for that. Terry says, you're right, Vanessa. Look at Governor Whitmer. She's back in Jocelyn Benson instead of the man who's been by her side for the last 8 years. And let me tell you something. Let me say this. I don't care who it is. If you have a difference of opinion of the person that's, holding a position, they automatically think that you're against them, when in fact, listen, no, you should be able to accept criticism. That comes with your job. But they make this so personal. This is it's just, to me, it's ridiculous, and it's hypocrisy at its highest. When we were talking about COVID, we were shut down, but you remember, and she had to apologize for this, our governor flew to Florida where there was not a lockdown.
I was not criticizing the governor, to be fair here. I was suggesting to you that if you think there's only, and I think Vanessa said it best, if you think, there's only one party trying to take rights away, you're not open, your eyes are closed.
I'm not saying
definitely took rights away for that when it came to that appointment of someone for the presidential candidate.
I'll agree with you, Jim, on some of that. But let me say this: when the thing about whatever your definition of woke is and whatever you think it applies for, immediately
put a pin in it, Allan. We're gonna shoot the commercial. Then when we come back, you can finish. I'm going to log off, okay? And you guys will carry on the show.
Hi, I'm Eric Sabri, your Wayne County Treasurer. If you're living in a home of a deceased family member and you're facing property tax foreclosure, the probate process can be helpful to you. If you file a probate petition and notify our office, the foreclosure proceedings be halted during the probate process. Contact us at 313-224-5990 or email us at taxinfo@waynecounty.com. We're here to help.
All right, we are back. Maybe we'll go around a couple rounds and maybe cut this a little short, but I just wanted to say, the issue of woke, what I'm saying is that it's now being used as a way to use bigotry again. When we say, right away, they fire the Joint Chief of Staff, who happens to be black. They fire the Secretary of the Navy, who happens to be a woman, and it's just and under we're tired of this woke shit. We're tired of other trying to extend ourselves. And people need to be qualified for those positions, but just because they're black or women doesn't mean they're not qualified. And they're using the woke thing to say, oh, they only got it because of this or that. And I think it's insulting, and I think it's disturbing. But Jim or Eric?
Well, as a person of color, I think that using that woke is something that backfired on the African American race. No different than I don't watch NFL football. I didn't watch the Super Bowl. No different than the halftime performance when you had what's his name, Kendrick Lamar, talking about they not like us. But as a black person that's very aware of what's going on, white people don't want to be like us. Middle Easterners don't want to be like us. Asians, they see. I had a conversation again earlier today. They see all of the trials and tribulations of the black community. They see the urban area and the crime rate. They see the urban area and the literacy rate. They see the urban area and the joblessness rate. They see the urban area and all the hopelessness. So to embrace that moniker of they not like us, I just find that to be an oxymoron. And once they start embracing the wokeness, what exactly is woke? You saying that we woke. What does that mean? What does that actually mean? So the Republican Party and racists have used it against the black community with regards to being woke. It actually is pretty much a punchline that they're using that became to be a racist moniker now.
Well, I think they've used that they've weaponized that term woke as being negative in the same way that they've weaponized the word liberal and tried to make that, a bad term. Where I'm liberal. I'm proud to be a liberal. I respect people who have conservative thoughts. I have good friends who have conservative, views or whatever. But I don't, as long as it's done in a civil way and the differences are acknowledged. It's like, look, I guess the question when you talk about people don't want to be black, I think, look, you want to be black. I want to be Jewish. It's like, I think, whatever you are, you hopefully embrace. The more important thing is that you accept others who are not like you. And that's what we're not seeing. We're seeing less and less acceptance of our difference.
I think that's a great point. Diversity should be encouraged. But here's the situation. Terry McCrimmon, thank you for your comments. Terry basically said there's a lot of Archie bunkers in the world, right? And the right will argue there's a lot of transgender support. It's not those people that elected Joe Biden in 2020. The people that elected Joe Biden in 2020 were the fair-minded, the middle of the road kind of folks that went, I want to vote for Joe Biden because this guy's a lunatic. In 2024, those same people voted for Donald Trump because they thought Kamala Harris was the worst choice. So it's not the Archie bunkers that elected Donald Trump. It's the doctors and lawyers and the guys that drive the buses at Metro Airport that make $14 an hour, or the waitresses. Those people voted for Donald Trump this time. And that's why he got elected, not because of Archie Bunker. And the left didn't get elected because of, I can't think of the person from Bud Light, the transgender person. It was the people in the middle that elected both of them.
And you made a good point, Jim, because at the end of the day, people failed to realize that Kamala Harris was no better of a candidate in 2024 than she was in 2019 when she dropped out of the race before even getting a chance to be on the caucus ballot or the primary ballot in 2020. She was the same person. But because there was so much disdain for Donald Trump, you had a lot of people that embraced her, failing to realize that they couldn't stand her in 2019. But then, to your point, you had less people vote in 2024 than in 2020. Even the black community, because they just did not like her. And when people get mad about other black people not liking her, saying that you're a black man, you are a sexist, you hate black women, how people came to that correlation and conclusion just because they did not vote for her, did not like her, even though they didn't. I know a lot of people that vote for Cornel West. A lot of people that look like me voted for Cornel West. I'm sure there are a lot of people that vote for another third-party candidate. But people came to the conclusion that they just cannot vote for her. And that's what people fail to understand how things turned out on November the 5th.
It's, yeah, there's, I don't argue with you on a lot of stuff you're saying, but look, people vote for different reasons. When I was before the election, if I go like down to Mongo's or something, in Ellis Brothers Place, I'd take Uber. And 9 out of 10 times there was either Yemeni Muslim or Bangladeshi. And I would ask them, I say, who are you going to vote for? And they say, well, I'm not sure yet, but you know what? I don't think a woman should be president. I don't think that should be. And I'd say, well,
that's their culture. A lot of them, that's their culture.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's, people vote for all these different, the person in DC that I'm friends with, he'd be like, he goes, Kamala's not really black. Oh man, forget it. She's not black. We don't think she's Indian. We don't care about her, blah, blah, blah. So people don't necessarily vote on the issues. I mean, people were told, hey, 2020, the 2025 plan and all this stuff. People just said, I want cheaper eggs. I want cheaper this. I want, I'm tired of this transgender shit, the wokeness. And Trump came in and, and they got more than what I think they bargained for, a lot of people.
But here's the $1 million question, though. If people are really being honest, had Joe Biden stayed on the ballot, who would have won the election on November the 5th? Had Joe Biden stayed on the ballot?
I think, you know what? I think he was so wounded, and I think his fragility was so apparent. So many people, I think he just was not going to win. I think Joe Biden of 2020, had he been the same Joe Biden 2024, he would have killed Trump. But I think
I disagree with that as well. He wasn't in 2020.
Yeah.
Jim stated it already. People voted because they got fed up with Trump.
Yeah.
You have to realize, Allan, had he stayed on the ballot, the polls was already showing Joe Biden being obliterated in a matchup as early as January of 2024. Those numbers did not change. He stayed underwater all throughout the 2024 process.
I held my breath when I'd see Joe Biden when he started campaigning. He was running. I when he made public appearances, I was like on edge, like, please finish the sentence, please finish the speech. I think what emboldened him was the State of the Union address, where he did have a lot of energy and clarity, and he was able to be combative with some of the Congress members who were yelling at him. And I think, but the reality is, and you can blame the media for some of this, is that he was on the decline and they were trying to hide it. And
then, Jim, and also the viewers and watchers, that same question, if he stayed on the ballot, who would have won the election? That's why it boggles me that people get so upset about Trump winning when he would have won had Biden stayed on the ballot. He would have won.
Yeah. So I think, I don't know. So, well, I think we've been going 40 minutes. Is there anyone you guys want to have any final thoughts before we sign off?
I just like to just, in closing, we've had a lot of good comments tonight, but the Democratic Party, this is just my view, right? I grew up in a Democratic household. My dad was a staunch union man. The Democratic Party left the union people. The Democratic Party left the black people. The Democratic Party they lost their base. And that's why they're losing elections. And they're going to continue to lose elections until they embrace their base. And I don't see it. Chuck Schumer and these people, they went, You know, it's better. I don't like giving Trump this power, but it's better to not shut down the government. And I just think they made, whether you agree with them or not, they're going to argue that they made sensible decisions. I don't know whether they're good decisions or poor decisions, but they're trying to hold the country together, and I give them a little credit for it.
Well, first of all, when you say that the Democrats abandoned, I mean, Joe Biden was out on the picket line. Joe Biden, he was out at the UAW at GM. Joe Biden was—
That was a performative act.
Well, whatever it was, I mean, it was certainly a symbolic act. Joe Biden was the one who enhanced the pensions of some of these unions to make sure that they were viable for the next 40 years or so, like that. I think, look, when you talk about them losing it, look, Reagan, you know, a lot of workers gravitated toward Reagan in the 80s, and it's not going to be lost. I mean, the Democrats have to figure out, you know, it's also the union people are also, there's a socially conservative aspect of it. There's a lot of socially conservative people who ignore the work issues and want to have, you know, the transgender issue, whatever it is that's important to them. So it's a little bit more complicated, but you're right. The Democrats have to figure out they shouldn't be losing the black voter. They shouldn't be losing the union members, because I don't think that the Republicans are offering that much, you know, really more. Trump says, I'm going to get you jobs and stuff like that. But look, he's throwing people out on the street left and right.
But Alan, why do you say they should not be losing the black vote? That's part of the problem. The black vote has not been holding them accountable, and they have been taking the black vote for granted.
Well,
I'm not sure if this was Jim or Vanessa that said this. They have pretty much lost their way. And to your point, you keep bringing up the wokeness, you keep bringing up the transgender. People fail to realize, if you really pay attention, the black electorate is a lot more conservative than people give us credit for. Unfortunately, though, people only see the black vote as Democratic voters. Black voters have not held them accountable. They just saw through this last election, they felt they were lied to with regard to Joe Biden still being in office. They felt that a person was forced on them. We had to identify strictly with regard to supporting her because she was black, and that game plan just did not work. And that's one of the reasons, another reason why he won.
So they voted for the beacon of light, the truth, Donald Trump. You know, look, every party, you know, there's periods where people.
A lot of people didn't vote. A lot of black people didn't vote. So they felt that neither one of them was worth their vote.
But a lot of elections we've seen where when one party gets in office, like when Obama won, you know, the Republicans, they're lost or whatever. Every party loses its compass. Every party gets back on track, because there's only two right now. There should be more than two really serious parties, but they all lose their way, and they all find their way back. And the Democrats have lost their way. They know where the track is. They have to figure out how to get back to it. So
I think it might be at least 2 election cycles before they find their way back, with getting support from the black community, at least.
We'll see how Trump does. I mean, right now, I think he's making it a little bit easier for the Democrats to find their way back, or at least they should be. But, you know, anyways, all right, Jim, you have anything final you want to say? Before? Okay, well, thanks everybody for tuning in, and we'll be back tomorrow at 10 a.m. Back at it again. So thanks everybody for.
And I won't be here tomorrow. I have my literacy.
That's right.
Okay, and tell us real quick what's going on with that.
It's an event called, and I have a dynamic. We put together. Well, put together a dynamic roster of panelists. We have a couple of students on the panel, one 11th grader from the school at Marygrove, a 10th grader from Cass Tech, a teacher in the DPS system right now, a very active, involved parent with DPS, Nikki Snyder, who is one of the elected state board of directors, Jamaria Hall, who was the individual responsible for one of the individuals responsible for the lawsuit back in 2016. In the previous name, Aaliyah Moore, Kenneth Tate, Rodney Morrow, Jay Howard, Ryan Griffin, who's a college professor in sociology, Dr. Clarence Nixon, who has a nonprofit that deals with preparing people for tests, very successful. He's won numerous awards for having a 90% percentile of those that he has prepared for the ACT get an average score of 31, and that's 31 out of 36. Gerald Edwards, who is a professional in the homeless industry, he works with Joy Hope, who is the second deputy chief of police for the city of Detroit. She'll be speaking on the correlation of that education has on the school to prison pipeline. Then Jerron Howard, who is the founder and executive director of Umoja Debate League. And he trains, we talked about critical thinking earlier. He trains people for young kids to think critically, as well as to resolve conflict resolution issues. It'll be over at Wayne County Community College over on Outer Drive and Southfield Freeway Service Drive, starting at 10 o'clock. And it's called Let's Talk About It.
And it's open to everybody.
All right. We don't want to tell everyone to go there. We'll have no audience, but people are obviously welcome to come.
But they can listen while they're in the audience.
Yeah, I'm kidding. All right. Well, all right, everybody. Have a great Friday night, and we'll see you tomorrow morning. So thanks.
Yeah.